Hey everyone, Mr. MCA here. This is a lap guide for Willow Springs Big Willow with the Audi TT Cup, and this is for the Group 4 cars with BOP on and tuning disabled. And we're doing this with the racing medium tires. But before we get started with the lap guide, I want to note that for the front wheel drive cars like the Audi TT Cup, there's a bit of a weird thing that you can do with them where when you're going through a turn, you can use braking and throttle at the same time as you go through a turn, and that will help the car turn in a bit more. And this will take a bit of time to get an idea about how to do it, because at least for me, this isn't the easiest thing to do, especially at a track like this. So if you do a little bit of practice, then you'll be able to kind of get an idea about how to do it. But do be careful about being too aggressive with braking and throttle at the same time as you go through a turn, because that can make the car spin out. I've had it happen a couple of times and it's really weird. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started with the lap guide. And you'll see me do that as we go through this lap. But anyways, bring yourself towards the right side of the track and you're braking just after the 100 meter board. So you're going to brake hard for a short moment and quickly start to ease off the brakes as you're turning at around the 50 meter board, using a bit of braking and throttle at the same time to help the car turn in a bit more. Bring yourself towards the left side of the track, and just as you start to make this right turn, this is where you want to go down to 4th gear and just do a little bit of throttle control. And you just want to try to maintain as much momentum as possible without going way too wide. Then bring yourself towards the right side of the track, braking just before the 50 meter board. So 100% braking power for a short moment, and then this is where you do that little bit of braking and throttle at the same time to help the car turn in a bit more. Go down to 3rd gear, get on the throttle as soon as you can, and just before the curb on the right ends, that's where you want to do a lot of trail braking. And this is where you can really take advantage of the braking and throttle as you turn in method, as it'll help whip the car around this turn and get the car pointing towards the next section of the track. This is probably one of the more difficult parts, because you want to dip into the sand, dip the right wheels into the sand, and brake just as you dip into it. Staying on 4th gear, using a bit of braking and throttle at the same time to try to get the car to turn in a bit more. And again, that's one of the more difficult parts to nail down, especially if you dip down into the sand. This next right turn, you can easily take a flat out, but for the final turn, you want to brake before the 150 meter board, and this is because you're getting a bit of tailwind into the final turn, so you'll need to brake just a little bit earlier. Again, braking before the 150 meter board, 25% braking power, and just as you pass the 20 meter board, that's when you want to start to get on the throttle to try to maintain as much speed as possible, and try to be careful about clipping the apex, because you don't want to dip down into the sand and upset the car's balance. But let's go ahead and go through this again, but this time I will not stop the video. So again, we're on the racing medium tires with BOP on and tuning disabled, so go ahead and bring yourself towards the right side of the track, looking for the 100 meter board as you're going to brake just after you pass it. Using that bit of braking and throttle at the same time will help the FF cars like the Audi TT Cup turn in a bit more. Lots of throttle control as you go through this long second turn, just trying to keep a nice tight line and try to keep as much speed as possible. Then bring yourself towards the right side of the track, braking just before the 50 meter board, and again, lots of braking and throttle at the same time to help the car turn in a bit more. Staying on 3rd gear, more braking and throttle, trying to go for a late apex, and this is where I dip into the sand, get 2 wheels into the sand to try to get a bit of a wider line. And it's not an easy thing to do with the FF cars, at least for me it's not the easiest thing to do, so it will take a bit of practice to nail it down, especially if you're doing braking and throttle at the same time. And then finally bring yourself towards the left side of the track, braking just before the 150 meter board, because we have to take into account the tailwind. A little bit of braking to try to bring ourselves towards the apex, but trying to maintain as much speed as possible at the same time. And at the very end of this, gonna go ahead and get a 115.723. But that's gonna be it for me. I do apologize for leaving the ghost on. I completely forgot to turn it off, but that's going to be it for me. So Take care. This is Mr. MCA, wishing you an awesome week, and I'll see you in the next video.